as little as possible. I just wanted to like, that's why I invited like different people from different parts, because I think it'll be interesting to see what students can or can't do at uni or wherever they may be.
Yeah.
Oh, we're live. Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to today's panel, which is volunteering as a university student. What are my options pre, post, and during COVID? So I'm just going to go around. Can you please all introduce yourself? What's your name, your course of study, maybe like your year, and what roles or volunteering roles that you currently do at the moment?
So I'm Isabel, and I'm in third year and I study pharmacy, and my volunteering role that I currently do is an activator for swimming, which means it's like the free swimming side of the swimming club that you can just go to on a really casual basis, and you don't have to be of any like particular level or anything to join. You can even like learn to swim. So yeah, I've just, when pools are open, that's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Excellent.
Hi, I'm Cameron. I'm in my third year and I study business law. I'm the chairman of the American football team at DMU, and I'm also on the sports advisory committee, which is a bridge between the societies, more with the DSU and the sports office as well.
Thank you, Cameron.
I'm Leona. I'm a third year criminology with psychology student. And currently I'm volunteering as a course rep and helping DMU Works to make a careers event for criminology students, but I also have other volunteering experience.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Zoe. I study media and communication at De Montfort University, and I'm in my final year as well. And I volunteer for Quetzal, which are a Leicester-based women's charity supporting women and counselling them who have suffered from childhood sexual abuse.
Thank you so much. And I'm Kawzara. I currently work at DSU, so I'm the volunteering and mentoring coordinator, and this is Student Volunteering Week. So the first question I have for you is, actually, let's just get down to it. What are your options in your perspective of the options for volunteering for students pre, during, and post-COVID? So what were you doing before the pandemic? What are you doing now? And what do you think you'll be doing after the pandemic's over? Anyone can take this. Or should I just pick?
Yeah. So before COVID, I was on a committee. I was a vice chair of my committee, and then coming into this year, I became chairman as a step-up role. Obviously, there's a massive difference between last year and this year, and I'm hoping for next year to remain on the sports advisory group. But I think there's still lots of opportunities that are still with or without COVID there. I'm going to take on.
And are you enjoying it? Is it something that you're?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I wasn't sure going into it, but I couldn't imagine not doing it now. It's become something I'm so used to doing and love doing.
Sure. And what's like that? Like, you know, when you have the advisory group, like how does that run? Is there like changes that happens that you make as that go?
So, as I'm aware, in previous years, they would have been obviously in-person meetings with the different groups of people, but now it's just online meetings, which is obviously different. But obviously I wasn't on before, so I didn't really know too much different in that sense.
Sure. What about you, Isabel?
So I've been on the committee for swimming in a previous year, and then this year I'm just, because I think I said third year project in fourth year, so I wanted to like step down the role a bit by doing the activator role, because that's just a sort of once a week commitment. So before COVID, I work with another girl doing the role, and we'd normally just do a mixture of, a lot of the time we were like teaching people to swim. A lot of people came who'd never swum before, so that was really nice being able to see, because I guess it is a sport, but I also see it as like a bit of a life skill as well, swimming, like if you stop you drowning and stuff. So but then at the moment we're just not doing anything because like no one has pools in their houses, so we can't really do swimming virtually. So DMU Active as a whole are running a fitness session, so we know people can go to those if they want it. We've not got anything on like specifically from swimming.
That's really cool. What about you, Zoe?
So I was volunteering for Quetzal. I started in during the pandemic in September 2020, and it was really great because they offered the opportunity to do just a lot of online work. So mine was like obviously during the pandemic. So I focus on the social media aspects of it. So it's really nice to be able to work from home in a safe environment, but still be able to volunteer and bring a lot of support to Quetzal as well that way by just advertising through like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, that kind of thing. Yeah, and it's just yeah, it's really fun as well. I really enjoy it because it's just, you know, creating posts, making it look fun, and yeah, meeting new people as well.
Yeah, were you working with other organisation before this year, last year?
No, I actually, this is the first volunteering I've done in a couple, whilst at De Montfort University anyway. So my experience has been just during the pandemic, which is good because at least you know that you can still do it even in the situation we're in. It's still, you know, easy to do.
That's cool. Thank you. And Leona?
Well, actually, before COVID, I was volunteering at the British Heart Foundation. So I was working in one of their shops, and because of the lockdowns, I haven't had the opportunity to come back there. So I kind of treat it as, you know, it's on pause for now. And also I was doing mentoring, so I was a mentee. So it's not what you would generally consider volunteering, but it's actually like both beneficial for like you and your mentor. So I would say it works in that aspect. And the mentoring side, that transferred well online. However, I've also found other opportunities. So for example, I've become a course rep like this year, just recently. So even though despite the pandemic, I was still able to find opportunities. And I feel like especially during like this pandemic and after it, I feel like a lot of opportunities that you wouldn't really consider usually, I feel like they will be more prominent now, and I feel like more students will look towards them.
I agree. I feel like a lot of students, because you don't have a lot of time on your hands, but you know the time that you normally feel for like other activities that you're doing and you're not able to do that. You're looking for something else to do. Like in the first pandemic, we picked up baking banana breads and making coffee and all that stuff. So now it's like, and some people, they graduated, so they want to pick up skills. But from your perspective, like, why is it important for you, like the role that you do, and why do you do it? Do you want to start again, Cameron?
So I think the reason I took up this role and why I like doing it so much is just being the voice for people, especially for like one American football team. There's 70 odd people on the team normally. Being the sole voice of those people that sometimes like have really good ideas for the uni, and I'm in a position now to put those views forward and actually make a difference for those people.
Thank you. Isabel?
So I think it's really important that there's access to like a free sport, because there's no barrier then in the financial sense for people to get involved, and also the fact that there's no like particular skills required. So I personally think it's really welcoming, and so I think it's really important that someone's able to facilitate that for students.
Have you been swimming for a long time? Is this something that you've been doing since you were younger, or was it something that you picked up recently?
No, not so. Yeah, I did it when I was in primary school, and then I moved house at the end then, so then I stopped. But then I had I found my first year of uni quite hard because I didn't really get on with my flatmates at all. So at the beginning of second year, I was like, right, I want to join something new and just like get into something and meet new people. So that's what made me join swimming then. And then I just basically have done it at university. So I'm not particularly good at swimming or anything. I just find it fun more than like I don't compete or anything like that.
Yeah, it's nice to find something that you do. It's nice to find volunteering fun anyways. Zoe?
Yeah. I find volunteering important to me because it's just I'm managing to put my creative aspect of my the degree that I'm doing, media and communication, and putting it into something that's actually going to look good on my CV as well. So I do media and communication, which is quite a creative course, and we do a lot of marketing and PR within the course. And I'm now being able to put that into my charity work by creating posts for Quetzal. And yeah, it's really nice because I've met some really great other volunteers as well who also do the same thing as me, and we're called community connectors, and it's a really fun little like community that we've got going on. And yeah, I think that's like I've learned a lot over the past few months of volunteering for Quetzal. And yeah, it's just really fun and educational as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Leona?
Well, yeah, basically everyone said it already, but also I think volunteering is important because, you know, it's beneficial for both you, the volunteer, and for the person or organization that you're volunteering with, because I feel like pandemic or no pandemic, people still need support, and you know, you can always do something that enriches your life and also looks good on your CV and everything. So for me, it's also with the course rep volunteering position that I'm doing now, it's students need more support than ever. So I'm glad to be able to help with that, to, you know, just kind of help raise their voices as well. So it's really nice that despite the pandemic and despite many difficulties everyone is facing, you can still gain some experience and also help someone as well. And that's really nice.
Yeah, and based off what you just said, I just wanted to ask, like, you know, some of you have part-time roles, or some of you decided to volunteer in order to gain those roles. Like, what skills do you think you've been able to get as a result of that? Or for the people that have got part-time roles or are going into full-time roles after, and then for the people that haven't got that, like, what skills are you planning to take from what you're currently doing and taking forward to roles that you might plan to do in the future?
Is it okay if I take this on?
Yeah, I was going to say Leona, based off that.
Yeah, so basically I am currently a front runner for the mentoring team at DMU. So actually volunteering with the mentoring as a student, I was actually able to even get some confidence, you know. Even my mentor was helping me like work on my CV and like prepare for the interviews and everything. So in that way, it was directly helping me get this part-time role that I have right now. But also my other volunteering experiences, such as like the course rep or volunteering at the British Heart Foundation, they've all helped me gain some confidence, you know, and also just gather experience working in a team and everything. So those are all transferable skills that every employer seems to want. So I think that's what really helped me, because even for my because of volunteering, I've managed to get to my front runner position, and at my front runner position, I'm also helping myself in the future. So I feel like it's all like stacked up quite nicely, in my opinion.
That's great. That sounds really, really good. What about you, Zoe?
It's really well. I do Quetzal just part time as well, and the skills that I've gained from it are just the fact that I've really helped boost my confidence through the fact that Marie, the like my boss, I guess, she's given us so much freedom with what we do for volunteering, and that's really helped boost my confidence in the aspect that whenever I post something and it gains an audience, I always get really nice compliments and receive a lot of positive feedback from whatever it is that I produce, and that alone for me personally has just helped to increase my skills in like Photoshop, for example, and also just my confidence in general. Those are the two like most important things for me, and also being able to communicate with people better as well. I've always struggled with talking to new people and meeting new people, but it's definitely through doing Zoom calls as well. It's definitely increased my my confidence in that as well, which is really helpful.
I couldn't tell. I'm really confident here, so it must have worked. What career path are you planning on taking after?
Thank you. Sorry. I really want to go into like broadcasting and marketing after my degree. I've started looking into like internships for that. And yeah, I feel like those skills that Quetzal has given me from increasing my skills in like Photoshop and Adobe in general, I'll be able to take them into like career aspects in the future as well, especially to do like advertising, PR, marketing, those kind of, that kind of thing.
That's really cool. What about you, Isabel?
So I think the skills for me that I've learned is be able to explain things to people, because something like swimming, which I've done since I was young, just kind of you can just know how to do it. It makes you think really differently how to explain it to someone else. So I think that's really good for communication skills, like Zoe was saying, and going into a career in pharmacy, I think that'll be really useful, because you've got to explain things to patients there. Obviously, all patients have different levels of understanding, so it's a really good skill to be able to explain things at like any level and approach. Some patient might require you to explain it in a different way, and I really think I can do that with swimming, because it's like certain ways of explaining work for different people, and then it's really rewarding when you see them like starting to learn how to do different strokes or whatever we're doing at swimming that time.
That's so interesting. It's kind of like you're taking the skills like do this, do that, but when you go into like, it's so interesting how they're two different things.
Yeah, you wouldn't think they link that well, but
exactly. Yeah. And then the skills in between, like it's the way you would give instructions, like make sure you do this, make sure you do that, is similar to swimming. Like that's such an interesting.
Yeah, it's just like how you communicate with people. I think it's really improved for me.
And what about you, Cameron?
I have a part-time job, and I am a manager in that role. So there's a lot of leadership in there, which obviously the skills are transferring from being like a chairperson, and having those ability to work with the different groups of people that I work with at the uni is then just a transferable skill. The communication, as already said, and all those basic skills just are needed in the roles anyway. So they work together very nicely and complement each other.
That's really good. I guess one of the most important questions I have to ask you is, your students, you have coursework, you have so many other things on your plate. How do you manage doing volunteering as well as managing your course, particularly for some of you that are in third year? You might have dissertation, final year projects. What are useful tips? How are you juggling it, for instance, and what are useful tips to do that? So how are you managing your volunteering alongside other commitments? Should we start with Cameron and then we'll go?
Yeah, so I make a big thing about scheduling my weeks. So if I know I have lectures and seminars or meetings coming up, I put them into my calendar so I can already see what responsibilities or where I've got to be at certain times. And then a lot of my work as well is just through emails, replying to people as well. So those kind of things just do slot in when I have my free time. So mine thankfully works out really nicely for me.
That's good. That's good. Isabel?
So the active sessions are only an hour a week. So that is on a Wednesday afternoon, which you often don't have uni scheduled anyway. So that works quite well in that sense. But then obviously we've not been doing it since, was it November, when all the leisure centres shut? So I've not had to worry about it too much in the past few months. But in the first 2 months of uni, or month or so, I just found that I just used it as a break from my work. Like I just try and think of it as a nice time to get away, not be looking at a screen, and just treat it as that.
Sure. Are you like speaking to other activators as well, like keeping up, or is it just?
Yeah, Emily, who coordinates it, she's really good at checking in on us all, and she'll send a lot of emails and saying that we can contact her, whatever. So yeah, we're sort of keeping in touch through that and everything. So that's nice.
Shout out to Emily. Zoe.
Yeah, I'm the same as Cameron. Really, I really like to focus on scheduling and like list writing as well. That's really important to me. At the start of the week, I always like to write a large list of what to do that week, and then knuckle it down to specific things every day. And that's how I like to organize my headspace, I guess. But the other thing is with Quetzal especially, they give me so much freedom that on some weeks, if I know that I don't have to do, if I have a lot of uni work, for example, I can just message Marie and just say, I've got quite a lot to do this week, and she'll be absolutely fine with it, and she'll just say, oh, that's fine, you don't have to do as much, or just do a little bit more next week. It's so, you get so much freedom, especially within the pandemic. Everyone understands that it's more difficult, and yeah, it's just. Yeah, you do get a lot of freedom in that aspect, but especially scheduling and organizing, that kind of thing, that really helps with me.
That's really good. That's really good. What about you, Leona?
I was actually going to say the same thing as Cameron and Zoe. I love to just organize my week before it even happens. So it's always easy for me to see when I'm free and when I have some time. And also, because of the nature of my volunteering roles, I get to, in a way, choose when I want to volunteer. So this allows me to actually prepare for it, and it's not as demanding as maybe some other volunteering roles would be. But even without the pandemic, so when I was volunteering with the British Heart Foundation, they also allowed me the freedom of also telling them like, okay, I can work this many hours, or okay, I'm free now and that time. So that was really nice as well. And also because in some volunteering opportunities, you get to work in a team. So it's also like, if I don't get to make a deadline, then maybe someone else could help me with it, or vice versa. So there's always someone that's ready to pitch in or something like that. So it's not as demanding as maybe it would seem.
That's really good. It's really nice that like organizations or even within university that offer students role that they're not as demanding, just because as a student, like so many things can pop up, like not just in terms of like the schedule of maybe your course or courseware, you might not even be feeling it. Like you could be feeling down on that day, or you're feeling certain type of emotions and you don't want to go and volunteer. You just need some space for yourself. That it's nice that different organization or your role allows you to be flexible. Yeah, that's really, really good. I was gonna ask next, like, have you found any difficulties with volunteering? And if you have, like, how did you manage those? I'll go with Leona again.
Oh, well, actually, it might not seem like it, but I'm actually really, really shy. So in my volunteering experience, I've actually had to attend a lot of meetings. For example, for the course rep role, I have to prepare my notes and then go to a meeting, talk to people I haven't talked to before. And it's all really scary. However, I found that actually trying to just seek out new experiences and trying little by little, it actually allows me to get better at those things and to just approach them in a more calm manner and with more interest than anything. And also, whether it's like customer service or anything like that, I've always just tried to at least keep my focus on the actual task at hand. So it allows me to actually focus on it instead of my worries about it or my difficulties. Instead, I'm just focusing on the work and trying to do the best I can. And that actually allows me to do much better.
That's amazing. And it's funny that you said that as well. Like when I used to volunteer as a student, I actually found out a lot about myself, that I always say yes to things, and then I realized that I actually don't have the time to do it. And it's having to like negotiate that and understand when to say no. And it's really helped me in my job now, because I realized I would just say yes, and then I was burning myself out because I was like, oh, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, when there's others around who could help me. But enough about use. And let's move on to Zoe.
I'm quite similar to Leonie in the aspect that I do get like quite shy, especially when meeting new people again. Also, I get quite overwhelmed quite easily. So say I've got because I work as a part, I'm also a server, but obviously hospitality isn't open right now. But I have to do that as well as doing my dissertation right now, and then whatever Quetzal asked me to do that week as well. It does sometimes feel like there's a lot on my plate, and I guess that's a difficulty, just trying to overcome and figure out how to do everything in the same week. But yeah, it's just really focusing on the task at hand, and also messaging people and just telling people, letting them know how you're feeling. Don't just sit in the dark about it, because that's not gonna make anyone feel any better. You'll just get more and more stressed. So yeah, I'll always just message Marie and let her know how the week's going. If I feel a bit overloaded, she'll always take some of the load off for me and help me out in that way. Yeah, again, also the there's always someone there to help you out, and you're not going to be alone. Yeah, people do always want to help you. No one's going to want to sit there and let you struggle.
Sure, yeah. That's so true. Isabel?
I think at the beginning I was quite worried that I wasn't experienced enough to teach people swimming, and I just thought, like, what qualifies me to be doing this? And I think you just have to think that people aren't there to become Olympic swimmers. They mainly just want to have fun and relax. So I just tried to change my mindset to be more like just being like a friendly face for them. So a lot of them first year, and I mean, imagine starting first year at the moment is really hard because it's hard to meet people. So I'd always just try and make sure I was like chatting to everyone that was there a lot, and just tried to make them feel really welcome. Because whilst I'm not the greatest swimmer, I think just to make it more of a fun environment was maybe my main priority that I decided I think that's something I could do better probably.
It sounds really exciting that you went for it. Like you said that you're not like the most amazing swimmer, but it's something that you really enjoyed, and it's something that you wanted to do. And I think that takes a lot of courage. So well done.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. How about you, Cameron?
So there's not really many difficulties I come across. Like one of the ones that it's not really a massive difficulty, but it's a recurring theme, is that whenever I go into meetings with different groups of people, that there's always going to be opposing views, I find. And it's understand that there's other ways of looking at things. And it's once you start seeing not just my own view, but how other people see situations, it becomes a lot simpler as well. So it's one thing that I've definitely had happen a lot, and it's something I've overcome.
Yeah, that is true. As you go into the adult world or the job world or whatever people call it, you'll find that you work with people, or people with opposing views, and it's trying to balance what you think and what other people think. It's a skill. Based off that, Cameron, I was going to ask, like pre-COVID, since you're a committee or a chairperson, like what's a typical day like for you, or like when you have training, or have you always been a chairperson? Have you sat on other committee roles in the past year? I think you said you did. So what's that like? Like, what do you do? Do you basically,
That's fine. So in my second year, I started out as vice chairman, but halfway through that, I took over as chairman in my second year as well. But that would normally we'd have 3 training sessions a week, committee meetings every other week. Like it'll be a lot more full on than it is now, obviously. It's something I miss doing actually, but there's a lot of things that we can't do. Obviously with a sport, we obviously can't do it now, and with a lot of things like with training and stuff like that, it's just not the same, even when we could go back. So
sure. What time do you have to wake up for training?
Well, the wake up for training is not the issue. We start at 10 o'clock on a Sunday, but some of our games, in my first year, we had a game. So in our leagues, we play against unis across the country. and playing teams like Huddersfield and Chester. I think the Huddersfield, we were up at 5 o'clock in the morning for our bus. And yeah.
I think that's why I didn't join a sports team at uni. Training was not something I could ever get used to. I love my sleep too much. What about you, Isabel?
So yeah, normally there's 2 or 3 swimming sessions a week that I'll go to where I actually do swimming, and then there's 1 per week that's the activator session. So normally me and Drew, who's the other activator, will plan what we're going to do in the session, just Google and make some sets and things, and then we just get there a bit early because at the moment everyone has to wait outside before they go in, so we just like take the register, go in, and then we sort of split up between us, like which half of the pool we'll sort of watch. And obviously you're not like there's lifeguards and everything, just sort of to help people out with tips and things. And then yeah, it goes really quickly, to be honest. It's only an hour, and then at the end you just sort of say you hope everyone's going to come back next week and check everyone's had fun and everything. But yeah, it's quite simple, really. It's good.
Do you take feedback at the end of the lesson?
Yeah, people often say, like, we don't specifically ask for it, but people often tell us if they've had fun, which is really good. And also we have an Instagram as well, but it's mainly Drew that does the posting on there, and I keep track of the register and the spreadsheet. So she's more creative than me, I think. So she does a really good job of that, and I do the boring spreadsheet part. But it works well. So yeah,
that's really cool. What about you, Zoe?
I think with Quetzal and my part in volunteering being quite different to one being at DMU, and it's mainly focused online. It's like I can really what's the word? I can change any day that I want to like create my posts. So I tend to upload 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I'll create 3 or 4 posts for the week. And then I'll usually do that on like a Sunday evening. That'll take me around a couple hours, and then I'll just do 3 or 4 uploads throughout the week, just to try and engage and interact with social media users. So yeah, it's quite different. There's no like specific time slot, or you know, it's quite. I get a lot of freedom in that aspect, which is really nice as well.
Thank you, Leona.
I would say I have a lot of freedom as well, kind of like Zoe. I guess it depends which role, because I've tried to get myself involved with a lot of volunteering experiences since coming to uni. So it depends like which role. So for example, with the course rep volunteering I'm doing, it depends, because sometimes students need more support and then sometimes they need less, or it depends if there are any kind of meetings, then I should attend those and stuff like that. So we it kind of varies week to week or even daily, because sometimes someone remembers, oh, I have this issue, so can you talk to someone about it, and stuff like that. So it really varies. For the British Heart Foundation, I used to go, I think, 2 times a week or something. So it was all very, they allowed me to actually tell them when I'm free, and it was all like no pressure, just help out whenever you can, sort of thing. So that was really good as well. So I wouldn't really say there's any typical day or typical week, because it depends really on the role that you're doing. And because I also did some volunteering with DMU Local, and it was at a one-time event, so it was just for that one day, and I had to stay there for like half a day or something. So but it was not as committal as working, or rather volunteering, with the British Heart Foundation. So it really varies which type of role you're doing. So yeah.
Sure. And from all of your roles, everything that you've done since you've been at uni, like what have you enjoyed the most about them? Starting with Leona.
I think I really enjoy just the support that I can offer to someone else. because obviously volunteering is good for me as well, because I'm able to develop as a person, and also there is the experience that I can put on my CV. However, the whole experience of actually supporting someone, helping someone through a difficult time, or even just being like conveniently there for someone else, I think it works a lot, and I think it's one of the best things, because again, as I said, pandemic or no pandemic, people still need support. So whether that's whether you're only working online, so remotely, or if you're working on site, I think all of those things matter. And I think it's just the fact that you're helping someone just better their life.
Yeah, that is true. Thank you. Zoe?
Yeah, I'm very similar to Leona. It's the fact that I'm managing to support other women, and knowing that I'm actually helping other people is just such a nice feeling. Yeah, and it's just, I've enjoyed that the most, definitely. I've also met some really lovely people as well through volunteering. The other community connectors, who again, they're really lovely people. And yeah, it's really nice to just I think the main aspect is just knowing that I'm helping others, meeting new people as well as that, and also being able to improve my creative side as well, and giving and getting the freedom of that, and other people actually liking it as well. It's quite a nice feeling knowing that. So yeah, I've definitely enjoyed all of those things.
That sounds really amazing. What about you, Isabel?
Yeah, I think for me it's just really nice being able to give back when I've had some really great experiences from swimming at De Montfort. And so like it's just nice being able to hopefully give some of those experiences to someone else, I'd say. But it's just a shame that we've not been able to do it as much as hoped this year. So it has been very different to, I'm sure, the experiences other activators have had in the past.
Oh.
That sounded a bit dramatic.
No, but it's so nice. Like, it's so nice to hear. Like, you're really making me feel like just emotional, because people don't realize how much volunteering has an impact on people. They think it's like, I don't know, it's just a really important thing to do, like giving back without necessarily expecting something in return. Like, although sometimes we do it because we want to gain skills, which is completely acceptable, but it's also knowing that you're still helping someone along the way, or you're gaining something in order to better yourself. It's a really nice thing. What about you, Cameron?
I think one of the things I most enjoyed is just meeting loads of new people, and just I think other part is just having a voice as well in a uni. From my role as a sports advisory, just representing, I think I represent 13 other sports teams as well as my own. So making sure that, because I'm quite fortunate, I have quite a big voice, and the sports office probably don't like me as much for that because I get in their nerves all the time. But knowing that some committees aren't always that confident, and that I'm there for them to help them in that process if they need it.
As a chairperson, do you sometimes find it difficult to relay all these messages, or like to really represent your group?
It's kind of keep the roles separate is one of the things, but there's a lot of social media posts that I put up, like especially if it's just for the American football team. We have like Facebook pages, group chats, that people get the information they need to get, and one of the things that making sure that communication is always flowing properly.
Sure. Have you always been, I know this might sound like a weird question, but have you always been a natural leader, or the fact that you're a chairperson, was it like something that you wanted to gain more experience in, or was it something that you like, you know what, I'm good at leading people, so this is something I want to do, rather than I really want to gain the skill, I don't know how to lead people, let me see what it's like?
I don't think when I was going into applying in my second year for a committee role, I never thought I'd become chairman. But I like the idea of being on the committee, so that's why I went for vice chairman, because it's still a role that has influence, but it's one of those roles that helps all the other roles in the committee. But then with my chairman at the time then having to step down, I felt most comfortable and more confident at the time that I could step up and fulfill that role.
Sure. For the people, I don't know, but I was gonna ask as well, like in terms of adapting Like obviously pre-COVID, you had everything. Like, is adapting be easier or has it been harder to do? Or are you finding new ways to interact with people? So, for example, I know with sport, nothing's really going on at the moment, but are you finding that like it's easier for you to talk to your society? Like, are you still close, or is it actually it's a lot harder? Some people are not communicating; they're finding it difficult. Cameron.
I mean, it's a mix of the bunch, really. Like some people are really close. Like I live with boys in the team. Like there's a lot of people that I grew up with in my first year, second year in the team that went from not knowing how to play that we won our championship league, and those boys like are basically like family at university level. But there's some people that like new this year. I've only seen people like 3 training sessions because that's all we're able to have. Like it's really difficult to connect with these people, and that is challenging, and it's something that I like to think I've done well. But there's definitely people that are going to still feel like they don't know as many people on the team, and unfortunately, that's just the situation. Unfortunately, at the moment.
Sure, that's understandable. Isabel.
Yeah, I think similar to Cameron, it's things like, I'm sure you've had it with American football, like socials, people that you're not necessarily like really close to, but you just would know that you'd see them every week, and you always have a nice time with them when you do.
Yeah.
And I think it is hard when you all bond over sport. It's hard to transfer that relationship to something online. I think it is something that, you know, not everything can just be put online, and I think swimming and the society as a whole is just one of those examples that it just doesn't really work. Not in terms of the people, but just the sport just doesn't work online. So I think it is hard, and hopefully it won't be too long. But yeah, we just don't know.
It's the nerves, isn't it? Because like when you meet people, like there's just a level of energy that you can bounce off people. Like, you know, when someone's not feeling like it, or you know they're having a down day, but they want to cheer up and stuff like that. Whilst online, it's like exactly like even if it's people that you know, like it's still that nerve coming into a room, like an online room, and just not knowing like what the energy is like. And sometimes it's awkward at the beginning as well, because you don't know how everyone's feeling. You can't really tell. Whilst sometimes you can always tell when someone's not feeling well, and you can just give them that room. Whilst on Zoom, it's just like you have to put like some sort of face on to just make it seem like you're also okay when maybe not everyone else is okay. So yeah, it is really hard. It is really hard. What about you, Zoe?
I think for me it was quite difficult because I went into Quetzal in the middle of the pandemic, so I'd never like met any of the other volunteers before. So all I've known is them through Zoom, which is obviously quite strange. You'd expect to just know your peers in person. I have met them all once in person, but Quetzal is actually quite a big charity, and there's probably roughly about 30 or 40 people working there overall, and we had a big Christmas like Zoom call quiz, and that was the first time that I met everybody. So it's quite different knowing that you've not actually met everybody in person, but it's also nice because I guess if you're somebody that struggles with not confrontation, but you know, meeting people in person, it's nice to kind of be in the comfort of your own home whilst being able to also interact with people. That is one comfort that I did get out of you know, changing from in person to a lot of online work. But yeah, it was hard to start with, but yeah, I think we've all grown quite used to it now, and it's almost normal now.
Yeah, true. One fact I even posted on my Instagram today, my sister, it's been March since we've been home, and my sister's never shown her face on any of her team meetings at once. Like not even once. Like they haven't been here since March. Like I was like, wow, like, how are you doing that? And sometimes yeah, she said one time they were hinting. She was like, you did. I'm literally the shock got me, but back to it, Leona.
Yeah, I mean, Zoe kind of touched on it, but I'm here with a kind of different perspective for me because I get quite anxious in new social situations and stuff like that. So online, everything being online actually offered me a chance to kind of step up a bit, I would say. So I've been getting more involved with, especially like any sort of activities with that has to do with uni, even like this panel right now. I'm not sure I would go about it the same way if everything was in person. And also because of my course rep role, I actually gained that during the pandemic, so just recently. And also it allowed me to talk to students that I haven't talked to before, even though they're my peers, because there's so many people in my course. And I couldn't have possibly met them all by now. So it was just really interesting, because whilst it's more difficult to get in touch and make those like kind of natural interactions, also there is the opportunity to actually meet new people as well. So I don't know, I'm kind of on the fence about it. It's been, in some ways, it's actually been easier for me to adapt to everything being online.
Sure, there's like pros and cons to it, isn't there? Like there's more of like an online community now because everything's online. Like we're spending more time on social media. You're talking to people that you've never met before as well on the internet, just because there's events, like things are becoming free as well because people are able to access workshops or skills that it might take them. Like for example, because we live in the Midlands, most of us. Some things that are having to happen in London where we might not be able to go down to is also happening online, for example. So it's quite easy to access stuff and meet new people as well, which is really, really good. One question I was going to ask is, have any of you volunteered abroad before at all?
I did. I went on this trip when I was in school to Honduras, where we did like conservation volunteering. So it was a really different kind. That was in like year 12, so that was ages ago. But it was interesting, and it was like to do with just conserving the rainforest there. So I guess that was volunteering abroad.
Sure. Would you have done it like, because obviously pandemic, would you have done it if you were at uni? Like, would it have been something you considered this year or?
Yeah, I would have loved it. I think me and my friend were hoping to have gone on a DMU global trip this year of some sorts, like whether it was a volunteering one or an academic one. But then obviously they've not been going since March, because then, we thought we'd do it in our final year. So I kind of regret that I didn't take the opportunity sooner. And but yeah, I would have loved to have done something like that again.
Sure. What about you, Cameron?
I've not done any volunteering abroad, no. But it's something that I would be interested in doing, to be honest.
Sure. Leona?
Actually, no, I haven't, but that's one of the reasons why when I came to uni, I was looking for all the different volunteering experiences. So
you sort of are
not having done. I mean, yeah, basically this, like, volunteering in the UK has been volunteering abroad for me. So, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah. And what about you, Zoe?
No, I haven't either. It's something that I've always really wanted to do, though. A lot of people go abroad and, help, with like rainforests and that kind of thing. That would just be really cool. And it is definitely something I'd look into doing after the pandemic, because I've always wanted to do something like that for sure.
Sure. This gets a bit more, I don't want to say serious, but like, how do you think the landscape of student volunteering might change post-COVID? Like, if you could see into the future, like, what do you think it'll remain the same, or do you think like things might change for students? Leona, I'll let you go first.
I think I've mentioned this before, but I think more students will look towards like non-traditional ways of volunteering. So even just looking for volunteering options at the university, I feel like there will be more interest in roles such as like course reps, or because at the moment I'm volunteering to also make a criminology careers event. So I feel like there will be more interest in those kind of unknown roles, such as that. However, I think some of the roles will also return to being more like in person and more just, I suppose it will be a lot of like I think DMU Local will still offer many volunteering opportunities where you can go somewhere and do something, and I feel like those specifically those roles will be even better than maybe they are at the moment, or that they were before the pandemic. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how it actually develops.
Same. So, Zoe?
Yeah, very similar to Leona, really. I think it'll be really interesting to see where it goes. I think with what I've been doing with Quetzal, that is already like one example of what you could do post-COVID, especially if you wanted to do something like marketing and advertising for a charity. Yeah, I think it'd just be, there'll be quite a lot more online Zoom calls, I think, especially when you're having to travel quite far. I think people will just instead maybe just go, let's just have a Zoom call. It might be a bit easier for everyone. And we know that does work now. But yeah, I do think it would be nice for people to actually start interacting in person again post-COVID. I do miss that whole face-to-face, interaction. It is nice. But yeah, I think it won't change dramatically. I do think that like Zoom calls will happen more frequently, but just for like the easiness of it, rather than anything else, really.
Sure. Isabel?
I think there could be an increased demand for volunteering, because I think there could be an increase in the amount of people that need help from different charities, that things that have just sort of slipped through the net through COVID. And then if things carry on having to be done in small groups, that obviously requires more volunteers. And then also to do with like people's mental health deteriorating during lockdown, there could be more work that's needed there. And then on a sports aspect, I think maybe a lot of people have either got into sports in their own home as something to do to fill up their time, or are really keen to get back into sports in the traditional sense. So I think there could be more demand for sports clubs next year or whatever at uni, because people have really missed it this year.
Sure. Cameron?
Again, I think from a sports perspective, I think will go back to how they were in the last couple of years before COVID, because as well as the online like Zoom things, and they do work for the meetings and things like that, but just not how sports teams run. They run in person, they run on the field. That's how half the teams run. Like a lot of our problems will be solved on a training field, because that's where the problems will arise half the time. So I feel, and I really hope that it will just go back to normal, or back to what used to be normal, I guess.
Yeah, sure. I think what COVID has done is really highlighted the problems that we have as a society, like even things like online, offering opportunities. Not everyone's able to meet face to face for many different reasons, and not able to speak, like mature students, for example, people that have kids, but they still want to volunteer. So I think maybe even a world of online volunteering might really, really open up for people that might not be able to do so, because a lot of the time we're volunteering, particularly outside of maybe university, a lot of charities, they require face-to-face and presence. But as Zoe said, like there's things like marketing and communication. There can be some organization can be based in Leicester, but then the person controlling the social media is all the way in Bristol. So I think like the landscape for even students, it might open up where there's like a whole hub of online volunteering for students across the country. Hopefully, who knows, we might see it, we might not as well. I think most of the questions that I have is nearly finishing. I think we already answered the question about how COVID impacted your student volunteering experiences. But let me see if I have any more on my question list. I guess one of the questions that I wanted to ask, which wasn't on the list, was like, do you think there's any stigmas and stuff that's revolving around volunteering? That might be something you think about. Cameron?
I don't know if there is, if I'm honest. I think people will have a hard time in certain aspects, but I think it comes down to, especially from like a sports team, like if you want a sports team, a sports team at the university to run, there needs to be a full committee. So
True.
people understand that if they want to play on this team, they need to be applying for roles, I guess. So there's not really many stigma around that, because everyone wants to keep playing sports.
Sure. Isabel?
I think when I did in first year, I think I briefly mentioned it before, I volunteered for Macmillan and I went to this couple's house and cleaned it for them because one of them had cancer. And I found that, I don't know if it's just because I was younger and a bit like less confident myself, I found that a bit, I didn't really like talking about that because I was like, oh, none of my friends are doing something like this. I don't know anyone else doing it. But looking back, I was like, I'm not ashamed to talk about it at all. So I don't think there is a real stigma, just I think every type of volunteering differs. And I mean, I don't think there should be. I think it should be something you're really proud to do. But sure, some people have found there are, but it's the wrong people. If people are making you feel embarrassed or something to volunteer, then I think that's a problem as well.
Sure. Zoe?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think also a lot of people struggle to actually, I think a lot of people see volunteering as something that looks really good, but not a lot of people actually then take the steps to go into doing it. I think they just think it might just be too hard, or they've already got too much on their plate and they end up not doing it. But again, I think it's just a case of just having a quick look online, and there's so many different charities and other places as well that are open to volunteers. And again, it's so you can find something that fits to exactly what you want to do most of the time with the time frame that you need and have as well. There's pretty much something for everybody. And it is just the case of having a quick scan online. And it took me only a couple hours to find Quetzal and get an email and an interview in. And yeah, it's been really helpful, and I'm really glad that I've done it because I know that it's taught me a lot. I've gained a lot of skills from it, and it will look good to employers in the future as well. So yeah.
Thank you. Leona?
Yeah, I agree with Isabel and Zoe. I would like to add, I think many people don't really consider that volunteering can be pretty much anything that you're doing and giving away your free time for. For example, like with mentoring, it's not one of those typical volunteering options you would consider. However, when you actually take a look at what it is, so you just like volunteer your time for it. It's for your like personal development. However, you also help your mentor, or you can do like peer mentoring, which is not something you would consider very difficult. However, it makes a huge impact. So I think it's also these things that many people don't really consider. I would say maybe some people consider volunteering to be very difficult, as I think Zoe said. So, it's the case of like, okay, no, you don't have to volunteer too much. You can actually fit it in your life schedule. You can do many things and also volunteer. It's not so committing, so you don't have to commit to doing like 12 hours a week or anything like that. You can just do 1 hour, 2 hours and still make a huge impact. So I think that's maybe one of the things that some people overlook.
Mm-hmm. And based off what you just said, like with all of you, like any tips you would give people to get started volunteering, particularly from your perspective as university students? Leona, you want to go? Okay.
Yeah, I would say definitely decide whether you want to do like something that's committing you like a few hours a week, or do you want to do like one-off volunteering, so at the specific event or anything like that. So because if your life is so busy that you can't do 5 hours a week or anything like that, maybe you can do just one-time event by one-time event. So that still allows you to decide and to fit it in your schedule. However, you're also volunteering and helping others.
Sure. Zoe?
Yeah, the same again, really. I think also just for me, it was a case of I wanted to do something that fitted in with my degree and the skills that I already had, so that I could then carry it on into a career in the future as well. So just think about like look into what what opportunities there are for you to do with what you already know, and then how much time they're asking for off you as well, and just figure out how much time you actually can give yourself a week. I only do probably 2 or 3 hours a week volunteering, and yeah, like Leona said, I do make quite a big impact on the social media side of it. And it's not a lot of stress either in the slightest. It's just something fun. Yeah, and it's yeah, that's that.
Okay. Isabel?
Yeah, I just would recommend like starting with something small, like either, as Leona mentioned, like maybe try a 1-day activity, see if it's for you, and then just take it from there, and try different things till you find something you like, and you can get into it through all different routes. Like I think in first year I signed up for the DMU local emails, and that was quite good to find out about the opportunities, and then swimming just sort of came about through the situation. So yeah, the opportunity might hit you when you're not expecting it maybe as well.
True. What about for people on the topic you just said, for people that might be nervous about doing volunteering, like, because for some people they want to do it, but it's just the social anxiety of meeting new people and talking to new people?
I think if you have a friend maybe that wants to do it, or someone else that you know, it could be really good if you both go together. But then obviously if you don't have that option, you could just start off emailing, and then at the moment with it being a Zoom call to start off with, that might make you feel a lot more comfortable than going on your own to meet someone new for the first time, which could be really daunting. So you could sort of take advantage of things being on Zoom to start off with. At the moment that could work to your favour if you're quite shy.
Sure. Cameron?
I think the most important thing is starting with things, or trying to find a role that relates to something you enjoy doing. Because otherwise you won't, if you're not doing something you enjoy, you won't enjoy the role at all. So if you're on a sports team and thinking about getting involved in volunteering, then their committee might be the perfect place to be. It doesn't have to be one of the core roles. It can just be like social media. It can be like health and safety, because the roles are all as important as each other, but you're not having to have so much responsibility at certain aspects of time. And there's not as much pressure on you at certain points as well.
You're so right. Like, I feel like with a lot of committee roles or activators, for example, roles that are within like that is specifically made for students, like only students can take up those roles. A lot of people don't think they're volunteering, because technically you are giving up your time to whatever it may be, put on events, lead a society, make sure that money's going in and out accurately, making sure that there's health and safety risk assessment. Like, all these are all student roles, and a lot of people might not think that actually that's to do with being a volunteer, but you're not getting anything monetary necessarily in return. A lot of the things you're getting out of is because you enjoy it, or you have a skill and stuff. Anything else anyone else wants to add? I see that we've hit the 1 hour mark. Do we have any questions? I don't think we have any questions coming through. If that's not the case, is there anything that you want to add to the discussion? No. We don't have any questions, do we? I don't think we do. 2 seconds. No, I don't think we do. But I just wanted to thank you all for taking part in this. Like, I've had so much fun. It really made me feel like, because we're in a pandemic, and normally the DSU, the activities would be in the office, or for DMU Sport, they'll be in the office. So you'll be able to see students coming in and out, asking questions that, because you're online, you don't know what other student groups are doing, and you don't know what other volunteers are doing. So it's just nice to be able to hear that you've sort of been able to continue despite the odds in the pandemic, and you're still trying to find ways to get involved. And I wish you all the best, really. And I hope that whatever skills you gain, or whatever you're doing, that it really helps you moving forward. So yeah, that's it from me. Thank you so much for attending this.
Thank you as well.
Thank you very much.
It's been lovely.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.